From the Open Season Property Studio, welcome to SuperTalk Outdoors, where every single Monday at lunchtime we celebrate the world-class outdoors of the state of Mississippi because we are the capital of the outdoors in America. I want to thank you for joining us here on the powerful SuperTalk Mississippi Radio Network. But you can also listen to SuperTalk Outdoors at supertalk.fm, Amazon Alexa, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, or on SuperTalk TV at C Spire TV. But some of you might be watching the show on YouTube or Facebook or listening on your favorite podcast. We really appreciate this. We want to be wherever, whenever you want to engage in the show, and we really appreciate it. We especially appreciate the feedback that we get. It's August 12th, 2024. Man, you know, it's amazing that it's already August the 12th. I mean, fishing season, while it's super hot, is in full swing across the state of Mississippi. And as hunting season fast approaches, man, a lot of people are already involved in a fury of activities on their land, getting ready for the season. You think about ducks, for example. I mean, landowners and, of course, the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks on the wildlife management areas are working really hard to prepare for duck season. And there's a long list of items related to habitat management. You know, monitoring food plots that you've already planted, or managing the wetlands, or creating water impoundments, or controlling invasive species. These are things that have just been going on for some time. But we're building and we're repairing. In some cases, we're buying new duck blinds, and we're starting to think about our decoys. And lots of people, whether they really need them or not, are going to buy new decoys. That's just the way it works. That's why you end up with so many decoys. At least the duck hunters I know have way more decoys than they actually need. You know, we're driving around and we're checking out our levees and our water control structures. A lot of work's going on in that area as we, you know, just kind of take in what it is we've got to do to get everything ready to go. We're checking our pumps, and we're doing a lot of work just to make sure the water management efforts that we're going to be engaging in are optimized and ready to get ready for the duck season. We're checking and we're repairing all of our equipment. So like the boats and motors and tractors, these things are always breaking down. In fact, the tractors, when they break down, create a lot of fun for us as we rag each other trying to get them unstuck and get them repaired, and all the work that we have to do around that. There's a lot of consulting going on with wildlife biologists and conservation experts as we look at the habitat management efforts that we've got on our land, making sure that we're maximizing it for waterfowl. And, of course, we're thinking about other wildlife on our property as well. And those group texts are really starting to light up now. We're trying to get some of our buddies off their butts so they can come help us do what needs to be done. We're communicating with each other. We're laughing. We're engaging in the kind of activities that we hope that it's going to lead to coordinating our hunting partners. And some of you have guides that you're coordinating with. Some of us have little small and some big hunting clubs that we're engaged with. Just a lot of work going on. You can imagine that these activities are necessary to get ready for the duck season. And then on the deer side, you know, there's a lot of work that's going on in August as we get ready to set the dates for planting food plots. We're putting out trail cameras so we can monitor the deer activity. We got food plots on our minds, and we're thinking about food sources and all the activities that are necessary to get ready for and create the best deer habitat on our property as we possibly can. We're thinking about building and buying and repairing tree stands and shooting houses and blinds. We're checking and we're monitoring all of our gear, especially firearms and bows. A lot of folks are getting their bows out now, starting to practice. I know my son Jordan is already doing that in earnest. We're thinking about where the tree stand locations need to be and safety harnesses. And listen, I always end every show talking about safety, but man, we can't be safe enough. Don't take any tree stand for granted. Always wear your safety straps, whether you're hunting or whether you're just checking them out. Please do that. There are just horror stories across the state of Mississippi because people didn't wear safety straps. So we're just out there making sure that we're getting everything in good working order. Of course, this is the time to make sure that, your hunting license, permits, in some cases tags, or that you're checking to make sure you've got what you need to legally hunt in Mississippi. And then you're thinking about, or have there been changes in bag limits and antler restrictions and hunting seasons? Compliance to the law is always going to be really important. And then lastly, we're going to shooting ranges and we're practicing. In my case, my son Jordan's got a nice little bow practice spot here at my house. But if you're shooting a rifle, you got to go to a shooting range. We always bring my small group of guys together, and we go practice at the beginning of the season just to make sure that our scopes in. Never assume that your scopes is zeroed in. They get bumped and things change from year to year. It's important for the game that we are making sure we're going into the woods with zeroed in scopes. So, is it any wonder to you that when we say that hunting in Mississippi, the outdoor industry in Mississippi, is a multi-billion-dollar industry? I mean, think of the flurry of dollars that are being spent to get ready for this hunting season. And by the way, I was looking yesterday, it looked like we may have a cold winter. So if that's the case, hopefully that'll push some ducks down and help kind of move things along. But hey, listen, I've invited William McKinley, who's head of the deer program for the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks, to join me next Monday so we can talk about what we're doing in Mississippi to keep Mississippi the capital of the outdoors, especially as it relates to deer hunting. Today, though, we're going to spend some time talking about coastal Mississippi fishing. And I'm thrilled to have my friend Captain Kyle Johnson join us. He's a saltwater fishing guide here in coastal Mississippi. He's really active. He's a leader in the outdoors community down here. And I look forward to telling his story and just checking in with him. Kyle, how you doing, my friend?
Doing great, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. So why aren't you on the water this morning?
Well, for one, it's super hot every day, so I can't run every day like I normally do. My body just can't take it. It's a little too much for me. But I've kind of realized that over the years. So I like to slow down this time of year and really get in on the family time. And kids are going back to school. We're just kind of spending a lot of time with each other. And Courtney and I just moved into a new house. We're just now getting settled in with that. So yeah, I've got some breaks in my schedule, so I'm catching up on things. And hey, if I was fishing, I wouldn't be here. So
I know you wouldn't. Hey, we'll tell people about your business, and I really want to tell them where you came from, your time in the Mississippi National Guard, and the decisions you made to kind of put all the chips in to build your own business. But you're a very respected guy. We'll go through all of that, but I'm just curious. I mean, if you look back on this season for you and your many guests, it's been a pretty successful year for you, hasn't it?
Yes. I've been very fortunate. It's been very good since I started, to be honest with you. I started in 2018, and the fishing was a little iffy then, just because of all the Bonnie Carey spillway. But we've definitely increased every year since then. And the fishing this year has just been absolutely phenomenal. And there's really no way to tell exactly what's causing that, because as you get into a lot of fisheries management, it's extremely hard to understand everything. It's very complicated. But there is one thing for sure, is that fish and all kinds of different sea life go through these cycles where some years you just have a couple bad years, and then next thing you know, it's just where it needs to be. And right now is one of those years for speckled trout that it's pretty much where it needs to be. We're seeing, pre-Bonnie Carey spillway numbers as far as trout and the quality of trout. And that's definitely my favorite fish. I don't know if you can tell. I got a glass painting in the background. I got a Marty Wilson trout thing back there. I'm just addicted to trout. But it's been a phenomenal year for trout, for sure.
Well, if you and I have discussed before, it has a lot to do with the bait. Shrimp and shad and other things that are important to species. And as it relates to speckled trout in particular, they're very sensitive to salinity, and they don't like super muddy water. And, there's a lot that goes with that. But if you think about the rain that we've had this year, we've had rain, but not like overwhelming rain. Sometimes it's good to have this kind of good mix, and it pushes a lot of the bait out of the bays. And for people who don't understand this, that you think about Biloxi Bay, a lot of tributaries, what we would refer to as watersheds drain eventually into Biloxi Bay and to the other bays and tributaries of coastal Mississippi. So if you get a gigantic amount of rain, it can really turn things upside down. But as it relates to all that, the weather situation and so on, we've really been lucky this year, haven't we?
Yes. Something that a lot of people don't understand is that we actually need that freshwater intrusion. We need that freshwater meeting that saltwater. It brings all the nutrients in. That's what the bait feeds on. And, bait and structure is the foundation of all fisheries. I mean, you have to have structure and you have to have bait. And last year, we had pretty much a drought. And it was, everybody was thinking that fishing was going to be phenomenal. And it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't like they thought it would be.
Hey, when we get back on the other side, we'll pick it up from right there and talk a little bit more about coastal Mississippi fishing with Captain Kyle Johnson. We'll see you after this break. Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors from the Open Season Properties Studio. Listen, Open Season Properties is a full-service real estate company with a team approach philosophy that ensures your needs are the highest priority, whether it's rural land sales, residential, or commercial properties. Open Season Properties markets and sells real estate in Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Tennessee, Alabama, and Georgia, and they're dedicated to the development of long-term client relationships and unwavering commitment to service. Go to openseasonproperties.com to learn more. We're just thrilled to have Open Season Properties as a title sponsor. Now, back to my guest. We're talking coastal Mississippi fishing, and my guest is Captain Kyle Johnson, someone I have a lot of respect for. He's got a great reputation as a fisherman, and especially a speckled trout fisherman, which is kind of what we were talking about just a few minutes ago. But you made the point that you want to have some rain because you think about it. This time last year, we were experiencing a drought. The hunting community was talking about it. The fishing community was talking about it. And you would think when the salinity levels get driven up like that fishing would just generally just be great. But it doesn't exactly work that way. As you pointed out, it's good to have that freshwater meeting the saltwater, and it just makes things better. Jordan went out on the pier last week and made 2 casts of the net and caught over 100 shrimp, all good fishing size.
Nice.
You can pick the shad that you want to get, the little pogies. Mm-hmm. And then as you go out the bay, man, you can see big pogies, little pogies, medium pogies. You usually don't see the big pogies until you get further out, like around the Deer Island area. But it's great to see so much bait, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. That's like I was saying earlier. That's the foundation of it all. You need structure and you need bait. And right now, things are where they should be. We got the red minnows coming in. The big schools of big bull reds and Jack Crevalle are coming in with them. There's some tarpon out there starting to show up. And just want to touch back on that drought last year. We saw some really, really interesting things. Like I said, the fishing wasn't as good as everybody thought it would be, but influx of mangrove snapper and red snapper moved in really, really close. So this year, you had the people that figured it out realized that they were catching their limits of legal red snapper. I mean, just 2-3 miles south of the island, Ship Island, Horn Island, the fish havens there, and that's why it's very important for us to really hone in on taking care of this resource and adding more structure, something that I'm a huge advocate for and have been for a long time. And Marty Wilson and I, with his One Gulf, One Goal Foundation, we got a grant and we're about to add 300 pyramids to the fish havens, and it's all going to be in state waters. So it's kind of like the perfect, it's just all falling together. Those fish moved in, and once they move in there, I feel like it takes a really drastic change to make them move out. And I don't think we're going to have a drastic change. I still kind of check those areas every now and then on trips that I have people that we've already accomplished everything we want to, or maybe I have a free day to do whatever I want. And one of the reefs that we put in last July, we did 6.6 tons of concrete in Fish Haven 14, which is like 2 miles south of Ship. It's been holding legal red snapper on it since last year. And that's awesome. This spring, I'm sure it's going to hold tons of sheephead. So it goes to show that we need more structure out there, and it's even more proof of that is when they filled in the cut at Ship Island. There's a dredge pipe that was going up from way deep all the way up on land. That was the spot to be while it was there. Charter boats, recreational guys, everybody was on that pipe all day, every day. All the fish were concentrated on that. Just a pipe, just laying on the beach. You know,
it's so. Listen, Jordan was out last weekend, and he sight casted a legal mangrove in 4 feet of water.
Yeah,
I mean, you see that a lot, but that's not something for those of us who've been fishing out there for a bunch of years. That's not common that you would see the kind of mangrove that we're seeing coming in.
I hate to be a one-upper, but I'll one-up you. We sight casted a bonita.
Did you really? That's awesome.
Off the tip of Ship Island. We were sitting there, we were looking for reds, and my client goes, "What is that?" I said, "Throw at it." I said, he was like, "Is that a tuna?" I was like, "Kinda."
Hey, listen, I grew up.
It was awesome.
When I was younger, we lived in Pensacola for a short period of time on Santa Rosa Island, and my grandparents actually ran a beauty salon called the El Dustin on Cervantes in Pensacola. Basically, the whole time I was growing up. And so we would spend a lot of our summers over there. And man, I grew up learning how to fish on the Pensacola Pier. And, you know, I had my spinning reel, and I was 10 years old out there could stand on the rail and sight cast the bonitas and kings and lemon fish. And that's where I learned how to fish.
It's crazy what swims up to that pier. I mean, you never know what you're going to catch on that pier.
Oh, man, what a great way to. I look back on it. I'm amazed, actually, that I would leave in the mornings and come back at night. My parents, man, they just let me go. You know, I guess they knew they could trust me because I wasn't going to do anything but fish. That's for sure. The whole time that I was there. Hey, listen, I was president and publisher of the Press Register in Mobile, the newspaper in Mobile, and so I bought my Everglades down in Gulf Shores. And the guy who put my electronics in, we became pretty good friends, and he downloaded all of the numbers into my system. So I've got all the public numbers and probably 90+% of the private numbers in my deal. And I just want to make a point that when we're offshore and we get close to the Alabama line, say we get off Petty Boyce between Petty Boyce and Dauphin Island, and you see all the marks for numbers that I have off Alabama waters versus what I have off Mississippi, dude, it's not even comparable. I probably have, I'm not exaggerating, I probably have 1,000+ numbers for Alabama.
Yep.
And in Mississippi, you know, we've got some good stuff, but we just don't have enough. I mean, I was talking with Joe Spraggins earlier, and Joe Spraggins, who's head of the Bureau of Marine Resources down in coastal Mississippi, and they're excited about the work that they're doing. They're very focused, as you well know, on doing it in a way that's not disruptive to the shrimping industry. But at the same time, we've just got to take advantage of this resource in a way that Alabama has, and you guys have been really working hard to do that.
Yeah, and we don't want to disrupt any other industry either. But the fact of the matter is, we have designated areas for fish havens, and there is plenty of room in all of those fish havens. While I would love to see more fish havens, there's plenty of room to put material in an area that's already designated for it. And just to put something into perspective here, Marty and I, those 300 pyramids, when we put those in, whenever we get the funding, which should be about next year or so, that's going to be more structure put in one go, in one deployment than the state has done in its lifetime in that area. We're putting 300 pyramids in. I mean, just doubling what they've done to this date. So, and hopefully we can get this funding every year. So if we get this funding every year, Ricky, we could catch up to Alabama, and we really need people to start speaking out and speaking up and getting behind us on these things, because it's not only the offshore fish. That was the easiest thing we could go after was that area. There's no permits right now for the inshore fisheries, even though I fish inshore way more than I do offshore. We could always have better offshore structure, of course, but the inshore, we really need to hit on that next. That's the next goal. Is there's 62 reefs along the beach. The little pipes that stick up in between the breakers on the beach. And not too long ago, like 2015, 2016, we used to just walk out to those oyster reefs and you could cast and catch trout, redfish, white trout, black drum, sheephead. And almost all those reefs have silted over. There's nothing there. And that's going to be huge whenever we get around to that and those permits become available. I believe the DMR owns those permits, and they have been working very hard to get them, but it's NOAA that's really given us pushback on getting those permits back. But once we get those back and we get some material deployed there, and it's my hopes to talk with the legislators and get a bill passed that those structures have to be managed. There needs to be funds set aside specifically for those. And every time, every year there's things added to it or they're checked. And if they need to be added, they should be added. I think it's steps like that we really need to do to ensure our future here.
I mean, you think about 26 miles of essentially man-made beach. The beach was built to protect the seawall, and it became this incredible tourist attraction back in the 1950s. And now the opportunity to go do some of the best flounder fishing in the Gulf of Mexico or do wade fishing that, when people think of the coast, they don't think of the wade fishing part of this that you're sort of referring to now. Mm-hmm. And it's still good. And if you could do something to enhance that, it could even be better. And that makes it so that if you don't have a boat and you don't have the money to do these you can actually go park in one of those parking bays and
just walk
wade
out
and have a great time. We're talking to Captain Kyle Johnson. We'll continue our conversation on the other side. Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. Listen, are you looking to purchase your perfect piece of hunting property, upgrade your farm equipment, or have you been dreaming of owning your slice of heaven out in the country? Look no further than Mississippi Land Bank for your financing needs. For more than 100 years, farming families and landowners in North Mississippi have turned to Mississippi Land Bank for all kinds of financial solutions, whether it's for land, equipment, or livestock. For more information, visit mslandbank.com or go by and see one of their friendly staff at any of their offices, just like my friends did to buy some property recently, and they were terrific to work with. Hey, listen, I'm enjoying visiting with Captain Kyle Johnson. Kyle is a leader in the outdoors community down in coastal Mississippi. He loves fishing. He loves showing people a great time, but he also understands what it takes to take it to the next level. And we were talking about in the other segment about how much opportunity is in front of us to really continue to drive home the point that Mississippi is the capital outdoors, some of the best deer hunting, turkey hunting, duck hunting, backwater fishing, offshore fishing. When you add it all together, few states, if any, have the opportunity to call themselves the capital of the outdoors like we are. Hey, but look, Kyle, we'll circle back to some fishing here in just a second. But I wanted to give people a chance to get to know you better. Why don't we do this? Start by telling people you've got a unique boat. I love your boat. And tell them about what you fish out of, and also tell them about your company.
Yeah, so I fish out of a 2023 Blue Wave Makaira 28-foot center console. It's got twin Suzuki 200s on it. It is what I have found to be the most versatile boat with its size, because I love to do everything. Even though I am a speckled trout fanatic, I love everything. I really do. We target. And when we target something, we look for trophies. That's the other thing, that the kind of difference between me and some other guys is that, if my people say, hey, I want to catch a sheephead, I say, we're going to catch a 9 or 10 pounder. We're going to go look for monsters. So that's kind of my mentality. When somebody gives me a direction, I'm like, well, we're going to catch your personal best. And we do. We catch a lot of people's personal best. That's such a great feeling to see them get so excited over that. But it's a 28-foot center console. Very, very well riding boat. It's got a stepped hole in it, and it likes to go fast, and I like to go fast too. I like to get somewhere and get there and get fishing. But the most unique thing about it is how shallow it can get. I really specialize in Chandelier Island day trips. So we do wade fishing only, artificial lures only, and we to get to those areas, you really need to and have to wade. And to me, targeting trout, wade fishing is the ultimate way to do it. Multiple times we've had big trout just swim right up to us. And yes, that could happen in a boat, but in those flats out at Chandelier, crystal clear water, calm days, they feel that boat, just the displacement of that boat in the water. So we walk far away from the boat, and and that boat allows me to get into some places you wouldn't think a boat that size would. So it's a great vessel, man, and I love it.
Hey, listen, on the last weekend of snapper fishing, we went deep and had a great day. But on the way back, we swung in and took a closer look at Chandelier. Hadn't seen it in a while. Chandelier Islands off Louisiana, off our coast as well. But they've been just decimated by hurricanes and all these challenges. But I noticed some areas really starting to fill in a little bit, Kyle, and it was good to see that.
Yeah, so something I've noticed fishing out there, it's kind of funny. My clients ask me all the time, like, did you grow up fishing out here? Have you been fishing out here forever? I'm like, not really. I really didn't start fishing out there till about 2019 when I started getting these boats and able to get out there and just kind of really figured it out. And the beauty of Chandelier is that it changes so much. It doesn't matter if I've been fishing out there since I was a kid, because as you just said, the last time you were out there, the place is a total 180 different. So it's very interesting that every year, I fish out there year round, fall, winter, spring, summer. And every year there's certain areas that I fish that, during the fall and winter, I don't go to other areas. And by springtime, I've got to kind of go down there and explore a little bit, because these little islands will just completely disappear, or a new island will just pop up. So like this year, North Island there's like hardly anything left of North Island, but other islands have built up down on the south end, the South chain of islands, like north of Curlew. But there's a nice chain of islands north of Curlew, and new islands have just appeared there. Well, like I literally have tracks in my GPS where I was running last spring and summer, and it's land. It's an entire island. So that's what I really love about Chandeliers. There's really, there are some spots you can pull up and pretty much always catch fish, but it really keeps you on your toes. You've got to move around. You've got to see, you got to read what God's given you. There's birds diving here. There's bait here. There's probably some nice trout hanging out here. And they probably won't be in that spot the next day. They're going to be somewhere else. They're going to be miles away.
45 years. That's how long I've been hunting Chandelier. Or listen to me, fishing Chandelier. It's so, when you think about the barrier islands off our coast, and then you add to that repertoire, Chandelier, man, think Key West. And that's what we're doing, man. It's some of the best fishing in the world. It's as good as it gets. And I love the diversity of it. And you're right, man. If you're running and you're especially south and you're looking for those cuts that you can get through to say come back toward North Island or back over toward just the southern side of the island, you better be careful, because from one year to the next, man, as you pointed out, you'll find yourself running the ground in no time. So I'm always super, super careful.
I had a client, I get a lot of Texas clients. Chandelier is definitely a destination spot, and the Texas guys, they're light years ahead of everybody when it comes to wading for trout. And they like to come. They know they got bigger fish in Texas, but they just want to experience Chandelier. It's a different place. And I had a guy that, he grew up in Louisiana but moved to Texas. So he lived half his life in Louisiana, half his life in Texas. So he was very interesting. He was kind of like a Cajun, but he was like a Texas Cajun. And we were out there wading, and man, this guy, he was a hoot. We were having a good time, and we had a great trip. And one of those times it was just crystal clear water, and we're sight casting redfish, sight casting a few trout, just unbelievable topwater bite at the end of the day. And we're getting ready to leave, and he pops open a beer. He goes, "Man, I found the Cajun Bahamas." That's what he called it. And I was like, that's pretty spot on because it's got that Louisiana vibe, but it's got it's got that crystal clear water and those mangroves and the Cajun Bahamas. That's the best
I
thing.
love that. Hey, I'm gonna have to bring myself back there. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do that again.
That's right.
Hey, listen. So, Kyle, I love the fact that you had a really successful career in the National Guard, and left with flying colors. But you really took a lot of risk when you decided to leave there, and decided to go pursue your passion. You don't have any regrets about it, but that was a good career for you, wasn't it?
It was, and it's funny you bring that up. I just had lunch with some of my Army buddies last week. I hadn't seen them in about a year, and one of them is he's a pilot there, and he's really worked his way up. Him and I were in avionics together, just working on avionics equipment, and he became a warrant officer, and now he's the head over flight ops. I mean, he's really worked his way up. And the only thing I do miss is some of the guys, some of the guys I worked with, and we try and stay in touch best we could. But there's nothing like that feeling of being in the thick of it with your buddies. That's really what brings that military family together. That's what I do miss is that. But I do kind of have my little group now. When I first started out guiding, I was kind of alone, and I wanted it that way. I stayed to myself. I didn't share information with any other guys. They tried to get information out of me. I just wouldn't respond. But I've got a group now. I've got about 4 guys that we work together, and it's worked out very well because we all respect each other, and we all have helped each other in some way. When I first got started, Matt Westover and Chris Barlow, they had been running for about 4 or 5 years before I started. And they had overflow, and that's kind of what kept me busy at first. And that's really what people need to see. They need to see that you're busy when you're a guide, and that work just keeps coming. If you're sitting around and you don't have trips and you're not fishing, and you're not just fishing just to fish, people are not going to book you. You're not relevant. They don't know what's going on. And I just grinded my first 2 or 3 years. I grinded hard, but I developed that friendship, and I kind of have that bond with them now. But I do miss some of the guys with my old job. But as far as the management, I do not. I do not miss the way that place was ran. And according to my buddy Jason, ain't much changed.
Well, I mean, it's good. I mean, you know what? That's what causes you to want to seek change and go after your dreams. Hey, when we come back on the other side for the final segment, Kyle's dad was a big-time speckled trout fisherman, and I would say that you probably had it in your DNA to eventually do something like this, given the passion in your family for it. And I noticed recently you were fishing with your kids. I want to talk about that. Kyle Johnson, captain here in Coastal Mississippi, will continue the conversation on the other side. Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. Listen, no matter what kind of hunting you're into, whether you're looking for 40 acres or 4,000 acres, if you're looking to buy land, you need someone you can trust, and he's a hunting land hunter. Call Lake Pickle at Open Season Properties at 601-750-2487. Incidentally, I mentioned in the last couple of weeks that Lake Pickle and Jordan Blissett have bought the Primos Truth About Hunting podcast. It's been downloaded millions of times. It's incredibly successful, but they have their most recent show up there, and they talk a little bit about the process of going through negotiating with Primos and now actually having it. They actually own it now, and they'll continue it on a weekly basis, but it was great to see them do that. So go give the Primos Truth About Hunting podcast a listen. You'll be glad you did. I'm sure you will. Hey, listen, we're visiting with my friend Kyle Johnson. He's a captain here in Coastal Mississippi. He's someone we'll have back on a regular basis, someone I really enjoyed. I visited with him on my other show, the Ricky Matthews Show, but this is his first visit to the outdoor show. And you're probably wondering why I haven't had him on already. We tried, but he's a busy captain. He's out there doing his thing, aren't you, Kyle?
Yeah. I love doing stuff like this, but unless you want to do it at like 8 or 9 o'clock at night, it's hard for me to do it. That's when we do some of our podcasts. It's 8, 9 o'clock. I'll be up till 9, 10 o'clock at night, then got to get up at 4 the next morning and do my real job. But
wow,
I'm doing these types of things.
That's the way it is.
Ricky.
your dad is taught you a lot about speckled trout fishing. It was in your DNA. You look back on that, especially, we do a lot of live bait fishing, and one of the fun things to do is go anchor when it's not too rough on the surf side of the barrier islands and find the right spots and put out some live bait and find those trout pocketed up. Man, that's a lot of fun. But what really is great is using mirror lures and other artificials and doing it that way. But your dad taught you how to do that, didn't he?
Yep. So I grew up kind of the opposite of what everybody else did. I didn't really throw live bait until I was fishing on my own as a late teenager, because my dad was such a hardcore trout fisherman that he wasn't going to go out with live bait even with his kids. you better knew how to throw a mirror lure if you want to go fishing with him. So I'm very thankful for it, because it made me such a technical fisherman. My dad's he was a veterinarian. He's retired now. So he took a very scientific approach to fishing, and I inherited that as well. I was very curious as to why we are here. I wasn't ever satisfied with just going somewhere and catching fish, which a lot of people are, and that's fine. But I still, to this day, I want to know why they're there, not just be happy that they're there. I want to know exactly why they're there, and that's what's made me very consistent at what I do. But I wanted to touch on this real quick. This is I wish a lot more dads, moms would do this with my son. I didn't want to be too hard on him about fishing, but I did want him to learn, artificial first, like I did. Just kind of one of those things, like I had to do it, so now you got to do it. But the most important thing I think I instilled in my kids, my son and my daughter, is that the first 10, 15 times we went fishing, we didn't keep a single fish. Now, I want you to really think about this, right? Most people are raised that when they go, the quality of the trip is determined on how many keepers they got, okay? So I eliminated that from my kid's brain. So now, when we go, after those 10 or 15 trips of just releasing them, they soak in the fishing aspect of it. They're not focused on, okay, we've got to get a keeper for my dad to be proud. They do not. That does not cross their mind at all. I mean, they ask me, are we keeping anything today? Do you want to keep this? I'm like, I don't know. Do you? And half the time they say no. But after a while, releasing so much, and you know how much my wife and I love to cook and cook seafood. They're like, okay, Daddy, we got to keep some fish today. We want to eat some fish. But I really think that's where it's all gonna start in our future, in our fisheries, is putting a different mindset in there. That it's not really about the meal, which it is, and there's nothing wrong with that. I love harvesting and eating fish, but when you instill that into your child's brain, that they're enjoying spending time with you, and they're enjoying just being in the outdoors with their loved one, and it's not this other idea high up on a pedestal of you've got to have a keeper to have a satisfied trip. And I preach that to so many people, all my clients. I'm like, man, your kid will have such a better fishing career if you start them out this way.
Kyle, I think that's such a great lesson, and it wouldn't surprise you to learn that that's a lot the way I did it as well. We'll keep what we can, or what we want to, what we're going to cook, and man, we can eat some beautiful meals from what we catch. But we release a lot. We release a whole bunch, especially the big trout. I mean, Jordan, like you, he catches a big trout, man. He's going to video himself releasing it because he wants to show people that's what you need to be doing. But we're out of time. Kyle, it's been a pleasure to catch up with you, my friend.
You too, man. It goes by so fast.
Yeah, no, it does. This has been Captain Cal Johnson here in Coastal Mississippi. Look him up, man. He's on social media, and you'll be glad you did. That is for sure. Listen, stay safe when you're in the outdoors, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, man.